Okay, so today we're going to be taking a wee look at two CPU tower coolers. I personally have the AMD Ryzen 2700x, 8 core 16 threads, and with the CPU cooler I have on there, it gets a little bit toasty on occasion, and it's also just a tad loud, so I thought it's about time for a change. So I'm going to show you what I have, what I'm changing it to, and what the results were. So over here on the screen we've got the Cryorig M9a. Now this is a very small cooler, and that's quite honestly what drove me to it. I have a Fantex P300 case which doesn't leave me a lot of clearance. I've got 160mm height complete for the CPU cooler, and it's a little bit tight. So I decided the Wraith cooler is not exactly getting great reviews. I would just change it and get something a bit better. So this is the Cryorig M9a. They do an Intel version as well. This CPU cooler is absolutely great, quite honestly. It's got 4 copper pipes on there, and it's not very tall, but the problem is the fan on it's quite small. So I believe it's about 92mm if I remember correctly for the fan, and it gets a little bit loud sometimes. It's quite audible. My machine is on the floor, so I thought I would like a change. But the cooler itself, if you have a wee look, it's a maximum height of 124.6mm, which is such a small footprint, and it doesn't really matter what type of memory you've got, whether it be low profile or high profile memory, it just fits. Like, there's no space wasted. So I'll go over the temperatures for it in a minute when I'm doing the comparison. But what I've changed it to is one of these. This is the Dark Rock 4. Now this isn't the pro version of the cooler, this is the baby one if you will, and it just fits in the case. It's the tippy top of my height requirement is 159mm, and it's very close to the glass side panel when it's in there. But let's have a little look though. I'll show you the cooler and show you the comparisons between both. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to run the Cinebench R20 benchmark tool, and this is on the Cryorig M9a cooler first off. Now at idle, my temperatures in this room is about 20 degrees give or take. The CPU cores are usually in between the mid to high 30s, sometimes just peaking on 40. and that is just at 4 gigahertz. Now, as we can see, as we're running the test, the temperature is going up, and the cores are all at 100% load, but the actual clock speeds themselves are starting to downclock. Now, the test itself doesn't last very long, it's just a few minutes, but the actual core clock speeds dropped to about 3.8 gigahertz, and that's quite consistent throughout the remainder of the test. Now, as for the temperatures, it is a smaller cooler, so you do only have that 92mm fan, and it doesn't push as much air as some of the bigger ones like the 120s, 240s, and on top of that, you've also got the issue of it's slightly louder as well. So coming back to Cinebench here, we can see it's finished at 3541, and it's showing us that the max temperatures it hit during that was 79 degrees. So that's quite a quick test. So what we're going to do instead now is just load up Prime 95, and we're going to stress test it. Now this is just going to load up all the cores on 100%, and we're going to leave it for 10 minutes just so we can get a gauge on the frequencies and the temperatures that it's going to hit. So we're going to put it on torture test mode, and that way it's going to utilize the full CPU. And again, quite similarly, the 4 gigahertz is slightly downclocked now, and we can see it's jumping in between the 3.8 and 3.9 gigahertz range, and again it's going to continue that for pretty much the remainder of the test. Okay, so coming back to the test here after the 10-minute mark, we can see the CPU temperatures has risen to 83 degrees, and we can see that the cores have downclocked themselves slightly as well, so we're now going at roughly 3.7 to 3.8 gigahertz, and it's still 100% load in all cores. So overall, it's not fantastic, but the cooler for the price that it is does the job, and the fact that it's such a small form factor. So let's switch over to the Dark Rock and see if it does any better. Okay, so coming over to the Dark Rock 4, we can see that very similarly on idle, the CPU was just above the 4 gigahertz mark, and now that we're running Cinebench Release 20, the cores are now loading up to 100%, and we can see the temperatures are starting to increase as well. Now the cores themselves seem to be slightly higher, staying around about the kind of 3.9 mark, and that looks like it's fairly solid for the whole of the test. So let's see if it comes back with a higher score for it, and we can check what the temperatures are going to be. This cooler, just remember, is much larger than the Cryorig cooler, and it does have a much bigger fan as well. It's got a 120mm fan on there, so airflow that's coming through it is just much better. The size of the cooler as well should really help kind of get that heat and dissipate it just a little bit quicker than the Cryorig. Okay, and we can see the test didn't actually do that much better. We got 3544, and it was still certainly a higher score than the Cryorig. So let's just jump right into Prime 95, start up the same stress test, and we'll let it run for 10 minutes and see what it comes back as. See that the cooler is risen to 76 degrees, which is a nice 7 degrees lower than the Cryorig, and we can see the CPU is bouncing about just a little bit for its frequency. It does look like it's kind of jumping anywhere from kind of 3.8 to 3.9, give or take. Slight fluctuation, but certainly done a better job on the cooling side for it. So for the final comparison of these two, the Dark Rock 4 and the Cryorig M9a, we have a look at the minimum temperatures here, and these were just idle temperatures taken from both just after the system was running for about 10 minutes, not doing anything at all, and there was only a 2-degree difference. It was 35 degrees on the Dark Rock, and it was 37 degrees on the Cryorig. Moving on to the maximum temperatures, the highest ones of them, this was after core temp was running for about 10 minutes on both CPUs, and as we can see again, the Dark Rock 4 is slightly cooler than the Cryorig. It was 83 degrees on the Cryorig and only 76 degrees on the Dark Rock. Now the size comparison of these coolers is quite substantial. The Dark Rock is a much larger cooler, and with the larger fan on there, I expect the cooling to be slightly better on it. I was hoping for a little bit better results, quite honestly, but these are certainly an improvement, and I'll take that any day. So if you are looking to change the AMD Wraith cooler to something just a little bit better, you can pick up the Cryorig M9a for under £22, which is absolutely insane. It's a great little tower cooler. It fits in any case under the sun, and you just won't have any problems with it. It can be a wee bit higher on the temperature side, especially when you get to those 8 core models. Anything smaller than that though, 2600, 3600, it should be absolutely fine with. Also, if you do decide to go for something a bit better, you do have the option of the Bequiet Dark Rock 4 cooler, which I have to say, very aesthetically pleasing, but it is a big cooler, so if you've got space for it, double check your height requirements. That was the issue I thought I was going to have with it, but thankfully it fit. I did have obviously a little bit of the memory just about touching, and that bumped the fan up that tad, which near enough touched the glass, so it was touch and go. But these are £55 on Amazon at the moment. That's not on special, although they do go on sale quite a lot. You can pick them up used on eBay and things like that as well, save a little bit of money, get a very good cooler out of it. Great performance, and it's quiet. I need to say more. If you're still on the standard Wraith cooler, I've just shown you two options, one at a budget, one slightly higher. I hope this video has been of some help to anyone watching, and thanks for your time. Like, subscribe, and you can find me all other social links below. So the case that I have is